All right, well, let's get started, guys. My name's Dan, and I'm a partner at Cyrator with Mark, who's one of the two co-founders, and AJ, our other co-founder. And we're putting this together today with our guests from Coinweb. We've got Toby and Alex from Coinweb, and we've got Jesse from Power City being an ambassador for Pulsechain. And we've also got Stu as an ambassador for Pulsechain joining us today. So Mark, why don't you take it away and tell everybody what Cyrator's all about?
All right, sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And again, thank you all for being here. Cyrator is a decentralized review platform. We're trying to bring the most trustworthy information to crypto, trying to identify what are great projects and what are not by allowing the community to work together. We've soft launched in February this year, and since then we've reviewed over 800 projects, written over 4,000 reviews, and we have over 60 verified analysts. They need to apply and be approved by our community of analysts. And here you see just our traction is very constant, people writing reviews and sharing information. How this looks on the platform, people can log in, sign up, and this is how reviews look. You can see people just send important updates. And what's very important here, I want to explain quickly, is this shield you see here, super upvotes. And this is really what allows us to have trustworthy information. If you have a post on Twitter, and even if it has 100,000 likes, it doesn't help you trust that information. But to get super upvotes on Cyrator, you need to buy and stake Cure. And if you super upvote a review, you can get slashed if that information ends up to be false or misleading or is flagged. Yeah, that's basically what it is. You see here, there's lots and lots of reviews going on, people sharing information. And what I want to explain a little bit, what I think is very relevant to our discussion today here, is our spotlight. This is where we as a community review projects together. You can see here, these are the projects that are currently in micro review section. If you click in there, a project might have a few reviews like this. And if we go out, you can see down here in the past that we've reviewed just tons and tons of projects in the past. I'm going to end with this. I just wanted to say this is what we want to discuss today about. I believe we've built a very powerful solution that allows us to review projects with large amounts of people. We are already working with different launch pads and summits. And I think today I would like to discuss very powerful collaboration because Coinweb is launching their grants program. They're starting to look for a lot of projects to build on top of them. And I believe we can help a lot by integrating with that. And then on the other side, we have the Pulsechain community that we're getting to know a lot now. They have a very powerful community that have launched a lot of projects, brought a lot of funding, brought a lot of traction in the beginning for projects. So I would love to muse today about how we can bring these three powerful systems together to bring the next generation of dApps to blockchain.
Thank you, Mark. All right, why don't we let Coinweb do your introductions next. Toby and Alex, you guys tell us a little bit about yourself and Coinweb.
I think it's always better that I actually do the introduction for Alexander and then he speaks because, frankly speaking, he doesn't set himself through very well. So I'm going to take that upon myself to do that for him. Alexander is probably, alongside our third partner and co-founder in this, is arguably the smartest guy I've ever met. He had lead roles at Google as a developer, Google+, Google Hangouts. He patched the Bitcoin blockchain core in the area of thread security. He absolutely hates it when I say that. He's mentioned in the Bitcoin GitHub as a result of that. And he's really architected this platform. I'm the CEO. He's the chief architect. I'm more on the business side. And I'll give it to you in a 20-second high level, and then I'll let Alex drag you into the weeds a little bit more. We're a hybrid between a roll-up and a cross-chain broadcasting system. So roll-ups are usually designed to scale one particular chain. What we are able to do is communicate between those chains and scale them horizontally. And what that looks like when it's at home on its couch on a Sunday afternoon, we've now just released a load-in live prod and our DevNet. That enables you to do in the first instance, I'll just try, as I said, try to keep very, very high level for the non-technical geek devies on this group, which Alexander, as I said, will drag you into the weeds on, enable projects A1 to issue a cross-chain token that is subject to a routing system. Effectively, the cross-chain tokens that you issue and monitor the KPIs of an underlying chain to see if there's a gas fee spike or an outage or a slowdown on the network. Then it can automatically route those transactions to the next blockchain in your routing table. In real world technology terms, this is a given. This is what you have on voice, for example, including this call we're on. This is jumping across a number of different networks, and the switching systems are monitoring the quality and the cost basis of these routes. And in blockchain terms, that doesn't exist. And a lot of projects that are built on top of blockchains have suffered as a result. And an obvious one is CryptoKitties on the Ethereum network. Gas fees jump on the Ethereum network. And as a result, CryptoKitties as a project is dead. In the event that CryptoKitties had built on top of Coinweb, it could have said gas fee price on Ethereum is too high. Now we're shifting across to the second chain, to Polygon, by way of example. Now, that's the first part. We have a cross-chain broadcasting system, so you can actually embed information down into underlying chains that we can react to at the layer 2. We have gas fee abstraction. So if you build on top of us, you only need our token. End users do not need to hold the token of the underlying native coin from the L1 or Cweb. And we also compound transactions when we write them down into an underlying block, meaning that we can cut gas fees on the chains that we connect to by 70 to 80%. The really clever stuff comes with a reactive cross-chain smart contract framework, which is constantly monitoring the blocks of the underlying chains that we sit on, and then it reacts to them. So that's information that we can embed ourselves, a project, our tokens, or third-party information as well. And effectively, this is our first step. We have a whole range of functionality that's going to be released over the next year or 2 years. But even this functionality today, that when we speak to projects, is completely unique. And we've been in development for 6 years and spent $21 million doing this. And that's how long it takes to be able to architect and deliver this framework ready for live production that supports projects building on top of us. Anyway, I said my piece. I don't want to, I gave a brief introduction to Alex to get everyone excited. So I'm going to hand over to him for a minute so you can just, as I said, drag you into the weeds. And anyone's a little bit technical here, it's take it away for 5 minutes and wow people.
All right. Well, let's go on down the rest of the introductions, and we'll let Alex come at the end if he gets back. We also have a big ambassador from the Pulsechain community here from Power City. Jesse, you want to give a quick intro to your project?
Yeah. So not sure how many people have even heard of Pulsechain to begin with, but Pulsechain is a layer 1 blockchain. It aims to be the most trustless and accessible blockchain with the least amount of central controls. So you'll find when accessing Pulsechain, there's all sorts of IPFS links and most of the various code for the Pulsechain team build dApps is all verified and immutable and such. And that ensures its longevity in the space. As far as Power City, my team believes that protocols that have a revenue over an inflation model where the community can participate and be essentially owners of a protocol are the most sustainable. So things that are completely fee-driven instead of sometimes what might feel like Ponzi-ish tokenomics. Instead, you have something that's very much fee-driven. We built a number of dApps. Some of them are live now. Some of them are about to be live on testnet. We've completed all our audits and such, and we're just about ready to go for our remaining ones. We have a PortalX swap.io, which is essentially a cross-chain bridge and DEX aggregator. It crawls the web, and it finds all the various trade routes between one token and another token, one chain and another to another. And it then displays them out to you sequentially in which one will get you the best trade route. You then decide to interact with those contracts and maybe save a little bit of money. But also you pay a fee for that service, right? And as discussed before, that fee flows to our community of stakers and what we call our core. Our core is where you can come stake for any of those fees. Core stake is an NFT. It's transferable. It's mergeable. You can collect fees from various dApps by sitting in the core and being staked or staking liquidity providing tokens in there. Here in about 2 weeks, you'll see live go on testnet our Liquidity fork, our stablecoin protocol, which is always fully backed, fully redeemable, completely immutable, trustless. And essentially people can put in their own PulseX tokens, use those as collateral to mint some stable coins, which again are always fully backed and redeemable. There's no weird algorithmic things like you saw with Luna. It's simply an overbacked stable coin that anybody can extract $1 for if they click a redeem button. It really is a beautiful system. That's called Earn Protocol. There's various incentives for participation in a stability pool and a staking pool over there. So there are rewards and some fees that people pay when they mint some stable coins when they take out a loan. There's reason why people might want to take out loans. If you study HELOCs and why you would want to extract value from your best assets without selling them, maybe for tax advantages or some other reasons. We've taken those same principles and we've applied them in a blockchain. And then probably about 4 to 6 months out from now, you'll see our NFT platform, which is called Pixel Park. And that is such a huge build. It's got a lot of things going on in it. And that's still yet a little ways out. But that's Power City for you. We've decided to build on Pulsechain because we believe in the strength of its extremely loyal community that's always communicative with each other. There's tons of Telegram rooms and Twitter feeds that you don't really find the same strength of a community in many of the other blockchains. Pulsechain is a great candidate for just attracting users and having an army of people. But then also because of the busness of what Richard Hart has decided to do, build everything out, even the front ends, pushing those out into IPFS links and whatnot, trying to make it pretty much unstoppable. You don't see that level of effort in other blockchains. So that's why we decided to build on the Pulsechain. And that's us. That's Power City. Thank you.
All right. Hey, thank you. It sounds like you're really kicking the tail on a lot of levels with Pulsechain. So it's good to have you here as an ambassador for the blockchain. Alex, you're back. You ready to jump in and add a little 2 cents on Coinweb real quick?
Yeah, Coinweb. Actually, I looked at your Portal X Swap product. Looks really nice. Yeah, Coinweb is, if you want to do something like, let's say, Portal X Swap or any product where you want to integrate with directly, for example, take Coin or Bitcoin Cash or some of those assets. Coinweb is this kind of roll-up computation platform that sits on top of those blockchains. And it doesn't have its own consensus. It's only completely determined by the contents embedded in those other chains, similar to rollups, but with multi-chain support or cross-chain support. So we have just brought out the DevNet, so you can start building on the DevNet platform. And when you build on Coinweb currently, we support WebAssembly. And on top of WebAssembly, we do JavaScript. So the main way to write on Coinweb now is plain JavaScript. So the way you do that is that for those that know JavaScript, it's common that you create these NPM packages, and we have like a structure for a package called contract module. And it's just a bunch of a small, like, light tooling on top of a normal NPM package, which does some hashing. You have some part of it, which is the contract that is on-chain, another part, which is the off-chain part, which you link into a front end to interact with your smart contract. And then you can just add packages and use them and call them and things like that. The tooling is, we're just bringing out the tooling. We have a few probably generations to improve it, but it's completely usable right now. And we are going out for the mainnet part for the smart contract will be probably in, I think the plan is Q1 next year. So between now and then is a good time to start building, and then you can deploy in some months.
I always love to buy projects like that before mainnet launch, so that's great to know too. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So let me jump real quick to our last guest here, which is Stu with Tetra. Stu, you want to give a quick intro, and then we'll hop into some questions?
Hi guys, thanks for the invite and putting this together. I think just to quickly talk about Pulsechain for a minute as well. A lot of the things that Jesse had said there, I would echo. And when I'll give you a quick intro into what Tetra is in a minute, but it was a perfect sandbox for us because it's cheap fees. It's a little bit faster than Ethereum, but it's the level of decentralization that the team have put into it as well is really what gives it massive strength, along with a huge supportive community as well. So it's a real recipe for success, and that's why we wanted to develop for Pulsechain. So Tetra it's an automation tool that effectively allows you to automate your DeFi. We have developed two main elements to that, is Stratus and Atlas. And Stratus is like a drag and drop editor that allows you to connect or design connections between multiple different smart contracts so that you can move things around. So you may want to go and stake something and then take that yield and then go and put it into something else and then loop it round. It could be like visual limit orders. It could be visual arbitraging between various different stable coins or assets and things like that. So this drag and drop interface is effectively your way of designing the perfect strategy that you want to execute. And then you can publish that to your own smart contract and allow it to take effect when the market conditions meet the certain points and criteria that you've put into place. So the second part of our system is Atlas, and that's the sort of portfolio tracking and management front end for people that want to consume automations that other people have built, or to just manage your own ones, or to select from a menu of different things. There's an arbitrage strategy that's getting a lot of traction. I want to employ that, so you can deploy that directly from the Atlas front end. We, very similar to Power City as well, are on a fee-driven model. So the protocol takes a fee for people using it. It's a software as a service, effectively. And those fees are distributed proportionately to those that hold the Tetra token and stake it. Users don't need to hold or have the Tetra token to be able to use our tools. And we want everybody to embrace the tools that we provide for people and just pay a small fee for using it. It's that simple. Recently, we've started to build out some of the core infrastructure that we need to have in place on Pulsechain for our systems to operate. So we've just launched the first step of a DEX aggregator, which is only supporting PulseX at the minute. We put a couple of nice features in there where you can do 5-to-1 token swaps. And we've just switched on limit orders in the last few days as well. Believe it or not, it's the first protocol to have limit orders on Pulsechain. So we're trying to fill some gaps and some holes that's going to be useful for the community in the short term. And it gives us what we need in a trustless way where we don't need to rely on anybody else taking the whole ethos of Pulsechain itself, so that we can deploy immutable stuff that works without reliance on any third parties. Yeah, that's the quick elevator pitch.
Stu, can I just ask you a quick question? A lot of the people on this call are like listening in, they're in America. Yeah, you're Scottish.
All right. Very good, Toby.
Americans, they just are English, right? So I get you. I understand everything. You're going to have to send diagrams, like a whole narrative typed up.
Yeah, if you need me to translate, just let me know, or slow down.
I think we picked up good, but that is funny. All right, hey, listen, let's jump right in. I'm going to come back to you, Toby. What I understand, you guys have a very lucrative grant program that you're just launched, right? Tell us a little bit about that. And
what's interesting, and it's very important I say this because obviously we're speaking to the Pulsechain community here, and we are here to support underlying L1s, but we're also there to mitigate their risks. So we've launched a grant program with $10 million of our token, and we have pretty little token at the moment. We're doing anything between 500,000 to $1 million a day of natural organic traffic within the token. So we've got this out anywhere from $500 up to $300,000 per project, and all the kind of like the KPIs that we look at for a project: size of community engagement, where they are in the development cycle, and so on and so forth. But very important to say that we don't stop projects that are building on top of an L1 via us to then acquire grant programs for the underlying L1. So if Pulsechain is giving out grants, then you can fully access them as long as there's no exclusivity clause, and you can also get a grant from us at the same time. If there's something that Pulsechain is not enabling, but let's say Elrond is, Matic is, and then you can underwrite one of those L1s, a portion of the traffic can actually go down to those chains as well, because we can load balance, because Pulsechain can't literally handle it for some specific reason. Then you can also grant farm effectively across chains. Not that we're here to encourage that, because we're here to encourage an anchor chain for a particular project, and we're only enabling certain risk mitigation tools in place should you need to be able to load balance and move off. But that also helps the communities from other chains move across the Pulse chain as well at the same time. So if you're a Polygon community member, then we then create a bridge effectively and create a point for Pulse chain and drive adoption there. Yeah, $10 million at the high level, anywhere from $500 up to $300,000 per project. And we will look at them on case by case.
Sounds great. You were breaking up a little for me. I hope that everybody else was hearing you okay. But what I did get, what sounds really intriguing for a lot of projects, is a double dipping, right? So you can go ahead and do any grants that you might qualify for at the L1 level. Doesn't preclude you from coming in and getting a grant from Coinweb, which sounds pretty fascinating.
Well, it could be quadruple dipping. It could be.
Oh, sure, right. Other multiple chains as well, right? Yeah, dip as many as you can.
That's right. Sure. It's not double dipping, but we are here to support you guys. What we will take a very close look at to make sure that projects aren't going to take advantage of that situation. There has to be some sort of underwriting as the traffic that's going to be written down into the underlying chain.
All right, I want to jump to Jesse real quick. I think you probably covered this a lot in your intro, but specifically, if you could maybe talk about your practical experience coming onto Pulsechain, and just anything you talk about there in the practical experience, something good, something bad, something you overcame somehow. That you had already talked about the community, but maybe you want to touch on the community a little bit more.
Yeah, I would like to add to that.
Yeah, sure.
I was so impressed with the Pulsechain community, and that's part of why I also wanted to bring Coinweb and Pulsechain and us together. So I think especially showing to Coinweb all these numbers, like of the community, what they have achieved and so forth, I think that would be very interesting to hear.
Yeah, that certainly is a theme that you hear. Anybody that talks about Pulsechain, community is always one of those aspects. Yeah, so please, Jesse, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, sure. So the founder of Pulsechain is Richard Hart, and obviously some of you have maybe seen some articles about him and jumped to some conclusions that this guy looks very, he's very flamboyant. He's very outspoken. He says what's on his mind. Sometimes he's a little bit rude. But I believe, and the Pulsechain community believes, that he has always had the best of intentions. For years and years, he's taught and warned people about risks associated with central exchanges, for example. He's pulled out in advance that FTX, you'd lose all your money there, that with any of these exchanges, you'd lose all your money eventually, because the temptation is always too great for the central institutions to just take people's money and go spend it elsewhere and eventually lose it. So he decided, when the ETH gas fees were really high, that he wanted to combat that as well and build a layer one chain and shape it and push it in the direction back to the roots of what crypto is supposed to be. after a long 2-year plus wait and build from his team, Pulsechain finally came around. It launched with some basic tools, a swap platform called PulseX, which is very much like Uniswap V2 or PancakeSwap. It launched with all the tokens that existed on Ethereum. Those essentially got forked over and copied. Most or all really of the DeFi protocols that rely on some other mechanisms, some oracles and such, those all died and will never come back. But there are quite a bit of tokens that copied over that really don't have much of a use case other than some memeability. And those are all functioning perfectly. And if you had anything that was in your wallet at the time of the fork, those same assets exist in your wallet when you switch over to Pulsechain. You're welcome to go and explore and see all your existing tokens and do what you want with them. Another tool that I believe it launched with was Richard's Pulse Ramp Bridge, which is a very simple wrap on one chain or lock up on one chain, wrap onto the other, make a wrapper token on the other chain, always redeemable back and forth bridge. And it's a fork of OmniBridge, which is, in my opinion, one of the safest, the most trustless counterparty risk ways to run a bridging solution. That's called Pulse Ramp. And that's pretty much what it launched with. Now, meanwhile, while it was being built, there were many teams that said, hey, if this is going to be a successful chain, we're going to need stable coins. We're going to need lending type protocols. We're going to need the curves and balancers and convexes and aves of the things that exist over on ETH that I said were going to be broken when they copied over. Those essentially all had to get rebuilt from the ground up. So you had teams such as Liquid Loans, which I was a core member of in the earlier days. They've built the first to launch native stablecoin on Pulsechain. It uses Pulse as the collateral, and you can make yourself some USDL. You've got, of course, my team, Power City, who's built a variety of different tools. Some are launching very soon in the next couple weeks. Some exist already. You've got lots of people in the space who have got the idea of building automation type tools because nobody really enjoys sitting at their computer all day long, clicking on MetaMask 10 to 100 times a day. So you've got Power City. We've built some automation tools. Stu Pot here with Tetra, he's built some automation tools just essentially so you can set and forget. Of course, disclosure, always monitor what's going on. But you can essentially set and forget and let your various DeFi strategies just play themselves out because you made the decisions what you want to happen ahead of time. There's lots of things that have been built. I want to say there's probably somewhere around 100 to 200 various things that have launched on Pulsechain. Lots of them are memes. Many of them are collection sort of things. There's probably 5 or 6 different NFT platforms that have launched and are making their way in the space. Another 5 or 6 DeFi type protocols. There's a fork. There's an Aave fork already. And all these things are functioning pretty much flawlessly at the moment. And
it sounds like it is a good clone for Ethereum then, right? It's everything you find on Ethereum.
Yeah, so a lot of the things you find on Ethereum, you will find on Pulsechain. And ironically, just because the broader crypto space hasn't necessarily heard about all these things yet, often the yield on these things is quite high because there's not that much dilution yet there is over in Ethereum. So for the speculators and the people trying to make a little bit of extra coins here and there, it really is quite the playground at the moment over on Pulsechain.
All right. Well, thanks for the tip. I'm going to be buying before Coinweb's main launch and coming over there for some yielding. All right, let's jump back to you, Mark. You had the vision to put this AMA together because both this massive community in Pulsechain, and we welcome Felix here from Pulsechain and Bingo Swap. Mark had this vision to bring these guys on, and he knows Coinweb very well from his previous experience working with them. So, Mark, why don't you lead us a little bit in how you thought Cyrator can help both of these platforms and what your thoughts were on the the next evolution of the D apps out there.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. A couple of things here. First of all, as I said before, we had a lot of projects that come to us to be reviewed that haven't chosen, they're not ready even yet for a chain, or that they haven't gotten funding yet and things like that. We get hundreds and hundreds that come to us. And the things that projects need is they need funding and they need community, right? When I actually met Felix a couple months ago, I knew basically nothing about Pulsechain, and as many know, when you go look for Pulsechain, what you see at the face of it is a little bit.
You can basically see nothing. You cannot see the real value of Pulsechain. The
Exactly.
real value is the community and its undying belief in the community. Because we've been here waiting 2 years and the price have gone nowhere, but the community is like stronger than ever. It's like when we want to see something, we just make it happen. You can look at the Liquidity fork. They raised like $51 million for a Liquidity fork. And then we had Power City. They did it again with $15 million or 12 from the community. And then they forked Luxury, I think it was $10 million in a week. And we also funded the highest of stakes documentary, $3 million from the community just to make a movie. We also donated $600,000 to a race car just because we want outreach. And we're really just screaming for builders. We're screaming for the outside people to see what we got, because we really feel that we got the best shit in crypto. Is people look at Pulsechain, they don't really get it. And I know, but it's got everything Ethereum had forked over, all the previous balances, all the assets, all the new people can just enter the chain RPC and degen right away. New people cannot even get on most chains. Like you want to swap, like $100. You want to confirm access to your token, $100. You want to revoke access, this is $50.
I've seen it from the other side, right? These projects, what they really need. They need activity, they need funding, they need activity, they need the community. And when you showed me all of that, I saw that all of these things are there. I know
we are the most engaged community in crypto, to the point that people think our influencers are paid because they're so into it and they have been doing it so long.
Yes.
That people refuse to think this is real.
Yeah, and then I've been working with Coinweb, and I know of, you mentioned a few things that developers can write in JavaScript. And the crazy thing about that is for every one developer who does Solidity, there's probably 1,000 or 5,000 developers who can do JavaScript, right? And if we can, so we know new projects want to come in, if new developers can come in and they can, through Coinweb, develop much more advanced applications, and we can marry that together with the activity and the power of something like the Pulsechain community. I just and of course, Curator bringing it together, building that together. And on Curator, the community can pick the best projects. They can give feedback to the projects, and that often helps them really improve what they do. So I just feel together, this triangle can provide the perfect breeding ground for next generation applications that will do things that, and Alex can maybe jump in here a little bit, give some examples, but the next generation applications that bring adoption will be applications that people don't even know that they are using crypto, or a new social media platform or something like that. Yeah, I had this vision. I know Coinweb very well. I now know Pulsechain more and more, and I think there's a lot of value. So I wanted to introduce everyone. Maybe Coinweb can look at Pulsechain for a chain that can integrate and benefit from the strong community that is there. And Pulsechain would be very happy, of course, to have credible builders, strong new projects come in, and hopefully we can be the glue that puts everything together where the community can interact with all of these parts. So yeah, I want to say that as a thing, whatever you want to say.
I just paint a little bit a picture of how that might work. So Coinweb, as I mentioned, it sits on top of these L1s, and then you, as a roll-up, kind of. So you put some data into one of the L1s, and then it's executed by Coinweb. And then you have message passing between the different kind of L2 shards. So if you want to, let's say you do something on Pulsechain, and then let's say you want to do a project that is both on Pulsechain and Ethereum. Let's say somebody wants to build something that exists both on Ethereum and Pulsechain, and maybe Pulsechain is much cheaper for that. Let's say some sort of, let's say a swap service. And then you want to incentivize it across the two chains. That's one typical example. Being able to observe what's happening on both places and have one unified way of incentivizing. Because they're two completely different chains, separate, but with the same, like you write in Solidity on both. But you can observe the events coming out on both sides, and you can convert that into a token which incentivizes certain behavior on Coinweb, and then you can manipulate that on the Coinweb side. If you implement it at the kind of Ethereum level, or you can build more on the layer 2 on the Coinweb side, and interact with, let's say, the project that was mentioned earlier with this automation of different DeFi operations. Monitoring that is also a perfect use case for Coinweb, because you monitor DeFi operations. You can monitor that across multiple different L1s. So you want to move something across from to some other Gnosis or Ethereum or whatever, and then you can automate that using this reactive smart contract. So those are contracts that react to events coming out of L1. So it's just a little bit of a kind of painting a picture of how that could work. There are many ways of doing this kind of stuff.
Let me jump in and ask you a question. And I don't know Coinweb as well as Mark. I've asked him before to break it down for me, and he did a very good job with his layman's breakdown. So I understood Coinweb much better after that. But is there an opportunity that you guys help scale things, like can help integrate an L2 solution on top of Pulsechain through you guys somehow?
We are an L2 and we do the scaling. But we run WebAssembly as the kind of native VM, which are, we have two VMs, so we can expand into EVM, but we're not doing that right now. So let's say we have the WebAssembly. Most of if you look at the zero knowledge stuff that's implemented, it's mostly implemented in Rust, which compiles directly down to WebAssembly. So any sort of protocol in the zero knowledge domain can run on top of Coinweb. But Coinweb itself is very similar. The kind of fraud-proof mechanism or the validation method that we use is very similar to what's in optimistic rollups. So it's already scalable. But let's say you want to do this kind of real-time trading and things like that, where you have very high transaction volume, and you don't necessarily need everything on chain. Variations of Lightning Network, where you have these transaction channels where you don't need to broadcast everything, where you can use zero knowledge very well. That you can put on top of Coinweb. So you can do either.
I don't know Pulsechain either, so maybe there is a scaling solution. But first thing that comes to my mind is Pulsechain's a fork of Ethereum, and we know Ethereum isn't fast enough to run some of these natively. So that's why all the L2s are out there. So it just popped in my head. But anyway, I wanted to make sure we open this up before we get out of time to anybody in the community. So if you guys are listening out there and have any questions for these great guests or the ambassadors for Pulsechain, please put your questions in the chat. We can get you up here. Mark, did you have anything you want to throw in, since both of these fairly well?
No, I think most of the things I've already said. I've worked with Alex before for almost a year, right, designing 3D models and things like that to show how Coinweb works. I like to call it a cross-chain, the only cross-chain layer 2. And we've talked about these futuristic dApps that Coinweb will be able to have, right? And we talked about medical service, for example, where you could have your medical records stored in one chain, right? And then you could have your ID verification in another chain, and you could have your assets, transactions, payments that you need on the third chain, and all of that comes together. That's what Coinweb enables. And having that, I want to get back to this idea of dApps the next chain dApps being dApps that people don't even understand that it's a Web3 solution, right? Where they just smoothly use it as if it's Facebook or something like that. Again, just bring it back to, you need a powerful community. You need good funding for that. You need these technical solutions. And I think Coinweb can enable that and can integrate. I think Alex touched a little bit on it, that you can have certain parts of your dApp running on Coinweb. You can have certain parts that continue running on Pulsechain. These things can communicate with each other, and then they can also communicate with data from other chains. So I just wanted to reinforce that I believe that these strengths are needed to bring the next level of applications to Web3. And I think this hopefully is something we're going to see in the coming months or years.
I remember now that was the example he used with me with the different pieces of data on the different chains and how Coinweb can tie this together. We did have a question from the community here for the Coinweb team, asking it to, since it's quite technical, to be broken down a little bit more in layman's terms. Mark, I think your example went to that, but Toby, if you want to take that. And then as a follow-up, they're just asking how many people are in your pipeline right now or building on Coinweb that you might be able to share, any numbers or anything.
72 hours ago, we launched the technology for third-party builders to build on top of us. For the past 3 years, we've had a number of projects building on top of us in a permission state, and we're currently responsible for 0.5% of every transaction that hits BNB today. What we have works. What we're now releasing is third-party developers building on top of us. And we have 150 target projects that we're in touch with. In the past 72 hours, we've talked to 15 of them thus far. Next week, we've got 30. And we're talking to a number of incubators as well that have anywhere from 50 to hundreds of projects between them. So in reality, the overwhelming feedback that we've received is the unique functionality that we're offering that projects building on top of us can take advantage of. It just enables a whole host of use cases that don't exist today. Almost it can become the gold standard of what is happening in the blockchain space. If you look at Wormhole, they have 97 projects building on top of them, and they just raised $250 million as a result of that. Kujira, 1000x their token with circa 100 projects building on top of them, which took a year to get. With the unique functionality that we are offering today that does not exist in the market, which is not just an add-on, it's a go-to, it's an essential. If that can become gold standard, then we can get a critical mass of projects building on top of us in a relatively short space of time. And I don't talk about prices or anything like that. I'm not in a position to do that. But you can research the impact whereby 100 plus projects or short thereof building on top of platforms, be it L1s or L2s, what that impact has had on those projects is very clear to see. We think, and with the response that we've got from the subsection of projects that we've already spoken to, as I said, overwhelming response, and these are established, launched projects, one of the largest NFTs in the market. In the event we can achieve that, you can track what the success and the impact it will have on Coinweb from the likes of Zeta Chain, Kujira, Wormhole, so on and so forth.
Get into that magical 100 projects, that's it, right? That's the moonshot. So.
Well, not really, because if I don't have 100 projects signed up in the next 90 days, then I'm not doing my job properly. So I want a lot more than that. Believe you, 120 days, I want to have a lot more than that.
All right, so it's a milestone. I got you. Okay.
But it's a difference between saying, hey, we're really great, here's the grant program, come build on us. And then there's the other side of it is what we've got is absolutely unique. And if you want to stay ahead of your competitors or you want to grant farm across different chains, then we are your go-to. So the USP that we're throwing off do not exist today.
I'd say it's very hard. I've heard you say that a few times, to be a pioneer in this space and to trying to describe people something that doesn't exist that it's better in the future because this is how things are going to change. It's always difficult to relay that.
In our daily struggle for 6 years.
Yeah. So it would only be fair if we reached out to somebody from the Pulseweb chain to answer the same question. So I don't know, between you, Felix, or Jesse, or Stu, who would like to talk about the sheer number of projects you guys see building on Pulsechain and what that growth looks like.
I guess I'll start. I'm sure Stu has something to say, but posted in this Telegram just maybe 20, 30 minutes ago, it was a diagram of all the various projects that are launching on Pulsechain. And it really is quite amazing. If you look at other chains, usually the chain launches and it takes several months or many months before things start to spool up and people start to build on it. But this chart here, I don't know, 200 some protocols. They were all in some level of planning or even building out their code while Pulsechain didn't even exist yet. That may be a first in the crypto space.
Yeah, just echoing what Jesse was saying. I think that, and the other thing as well, I think that's important, is a lot of people that have been part of the community that have listened to the good things that Richard Hart has taught everybody as well, has encouraged good people to come out of their shell and build good, solid projects, whether they're forking something that is a truly trustless DeFi yield protocol over on Ethereum and bringing it to the Pulse chain. This stuff exists. For example, there's the Balancer fork Fox, which is, I don't know what their TVL is right now, but it's crazy successful. So the amount of projects that are coming over, that are doing things, even new developers that have never been involved in the community, they're embracing what Pulse chain is. And I think the key part is understanding how really decentralized Pulsechain is as well. It is completely unstoppable. It cannot be censored. Thousands of validators. And this is all because what the team did is they made available all of the things that people need to be decentralized. And I think that's going to be one of our biggest strengths moving forward. And I think more and more projects that are looking at where they want to go, it's cheaper, it's decentralized, it ticks all of these great boxes. So 200 just now, but it'll be a lot more than that soon, I think.
I think also just the familiarity for the builders coming from Ethereum is basically exact the same thing coming to Pulsechain. And also all their protocols are actually forked over. So many of them, maybe they were actually priced out of functioning on Ethereum, now have a new life on Pulsechain. And the thing is, most people that all of these protocols are already functioning. People are now taking loans on like forks, like the fork copy of Balancer and Aave on Pulsechain. So people that know how to interact with the code without a front end actually are making wild shit on Pulsechain. So it's like everybody has a waiting community already waiting, but it's up to actually the builders to come and to actually build on it, if that makes sense. Because I think most people think, because imagine you build a protocol, it's functioning on ETH. Now it's copied over. You have the full system, all the past transactions, and a community waiting, and actual liquidity. You can look at Wrap Bitcoin now. I think it was up to $350. It's actually valueless. Even the forked copy of DAI did 100x. People made millions sitting on copy DAI. I think there's a lot of good stories. For example, 9mm.pro. I think we started 2 months ago, 5 people. And it was basically Deva. He had a great idea. He wanted to create a V3 DEX, basically. And he created an NFT collection. And I think we minted it out with the help of Tangang in 1.5 weeks. I think he got like $400,000. And from that money, he created the #1 block explorer from the chain. I think he had, I don't remember them, like thousands of hits. He had like millions of views the first day. And he pretty much cornered the whole market on Pulsechain, all the eyes. And then he did the DEX and also the coming NFT marketplace. So we got really good examples of people, a little bit of money doing a lot of things. And I think Tangang is a great example. They pushed the meme coin from $6 to $1.2 million market cap in like, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So we got the founder.
2 million market cap.
Yes. And they also have helped mint out, I don't know, 40, 50 NFT collections.
We've given away 20,000 NFTs and we've raised over $1 million in debt, no sacrifices, best experiences on chain, and we're also a multi-chain community.
All right, Mark, I'm going to let you put some closing thoughts here. We're coming up on an hour, I think, unless anybody had anything else to add, but let you put your closing thoughts to this.
I think I'm fine. I've said what I have to say, unless maybe you guys, if Coinweb has a question directly to Pulsechain or the other way around, maybe you guys want to say something.
We've done a lot of research on Pulsechain. We've been very impressed by the number of projects that are building on top of it, considering how nascent it is. But the very, let's say, the foundations of it seem exceptionally solid. And there's the technology is iteration built upon iteration. And you go back to the earliest microchips from the late 60s, where we end up today and what's being pumped out of Taiwan is an iteration of what was originally invented and delivered and shipped in the late 1960s. So there's nothing wrong with forks and improving what an existing technology does. What we've built is proprietary from scratch, which is exceptionally difficult because you run off down a rabbit hole, you find out you hit a dead end and you've got to crawl back up it and you've got to start again. Hence the large investment that's gone into it and the time period. But we're very excited now that's been tried, tested, and it works. Applied to an underlying network such as Pulsechain with such a strong community, with a very solid foundation. And we think that there's reciprocity that can occur between the two projects in helping build that community and the projects on top of it.
Very well put. I think for sure Pulsechain community is now very aware of Coinweb, and you guys were already aware of them. And I'm sure anybody that's building, we've got Power City and Tetra here. There's probably many aspects of their projects that will take advantage of Coinweb potentially in the near future. I'm glad, Mark, you had the vision to bring this together for us. You got something to
maybe the last thing for Curate I would like to say. We did have a lot of people come in thanks to Coinweb and thanks to Pulsechain. So I do encourage all of you guys to become analysts on our platform, help review projects, and then hopefully those projects that you like, we can then refer to Coinweb and we can refer to Pulsechain to just improve the entire ecosystem. So yeah, come sign up and stay part of this community.
All right. Yeah, great last words. Thanks you guys, everybody, for showing up. Appreciate it.